You know, that's the first time I've used Three Dog Night to get into Tony Bachman. You know, we've done a lot of intros in 6-7 years.
Yeah.
But Three Dog Night.
I love Three Dog Night. I'm going to date myself and say, yeah, I was kind of in that era.
You know,
I still have them on my playlist.
I'll bet you do. Friday, we had Butch Warrington with us, building permit chief, city of Sioux Falls. First numbers for the building permits first quarter showed that we're really doing very, very well. So when we look at that, next week is the report card show.
Yeah, looking forward to that.
This is only the 4th of the month. We can't get Mark Tooley to get them out in time to do it on the 4th, but we can do it by the 6th, but we'll do it on the 11th. So what's important this morning? What is kind of happening?
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that, when we're looking at these numbers and we're all kind of on the edge of our seat, I mean, when I say not only us as agents in our Realtors Association, the Sioux Empire, but also just the general public. I mean, we've been having a lot of very interesting conversations, and I'll harken back to a little bit of what we talked about where there's opportunity in the market and there's some challenges in the market, which now it's just a matter of your glass half full or half empty. What we try to do is address the challenges so that way they don't seem quite so big and make this market make a little sense. But I would like to just address one of the things that we talk about. I mean, in reference to where we're at and where we're going. I can kind of cover like where we're at, and I can surmise or I can give a hypothesis of where we're going, and I think that's probably where
we'll score you now.
That's where I'm going with this conversation is kind of where we potentially are going. But as a disclaimer, it's my opinion and my opinion only.
Well, and you're going to use the word price bubble, and we're also hearing from our bankers as well that the rates have come down a little bit, but not as low as they were a few months ago.
Yeah, it's just perspective, and so with this, one of the questions we get is, are we in a price bubble? Is the market going to slow down? Are we going to see a collapse? And I just had a conversation. I was at an appointment earlier this morning, and they were asking about. And again, invariably, it's a hot topic. There's a lot of people that want to know, inquiring minds that want to know, and everybody kind of wants to know what's happening. And we hear it's hard. We hear there's no inventory, and it's like, yes, you do hear a lot of that, and we are in a hot market, but. So then they're like, well, maybe we should wait until the market collapses or there's a bubble. And this is where I'll say, I don't see this as a price bubble. And here's kind of the stats to kind of, so when we talk about bubbles and all that, when we saw the market decline was, roughly around 2008. Okay. So I'm going to use some of the 2008 stats to compare to what our current stats are. So in 2008, well, I'll go back to like months supply of inventory is what we always kind of look at. So what's happening with the market. So back in 2008, in about the same time of year, we had an average of about 9.2 months of inventory out there. So that meant like if another home didn't come on the market and as fast as things were selling, it would have taken a little over 9 months to sell. Okay. Fast forward to February. We don't know March's yet, so we'll be curious to see what March's numbers is. But in February, we had 1.3 months of inventory. So now we're having this conversation of supply.
So we're talking
and demand.
9.2 versus 1.3.
Right. Yeah. So we're talking, and so then we have the conversations about what a seller's market is, what a neutral market is, and what a buyer's market is. So a seller's market is anytime you have less than 6 months of inventory. And it could be maybe not the whole market. Maybe it's just like a certain segment. That's the other thing is when we start analyzing, what's the inventory levels at price point between 200 and 300 and 300 to 400. That'll tell you a little bit about, is it a buyer's market, is it a seller's market? But a seller's market, and we've been in a seller's market for a few years now. I mean, we've been in less than 6 months of inventory for quite a while.
And when you say seller's market, that means what? A
seller's market means that when they're going to put their home on the market, buyers are willing to not ask for as many allowances. They're willing to, and in some cases, we've had this conversation.
Bidding.
Some of them, they're bidding. There are multiple offers. Some of them are waiving inspections, which none of us agree with. We think that you should do an inspection, even if you say you're not going to ask for anything. You just want to have the ability to say, "Hey, I know. Here's some of the things that are going to need to be addressed for the home." But so that is kind of a seller's market where the seller. If it's priced right, multiple offers, they got good terms, that sort of thing. A neutral market means that maybe both sides have to give a little bit. And then a buyer's market, which we were in back in 2008, they were coming in, like right now, we were coming in over 100% on average for list price to sales price is, it has been over 100%. Back in 2008, it was like right around 94.5%, meaning like if it was a $100,000 house, they were only getting $94,500, and then they still may have had, maybe paid for some closing costs, replaced carpet, put in a new roof, those sorts of things. So that's where a buyer, you've got a little more pull in reference to that. So price bubble, market collapse. We're back to, that was 9.3 months or 9.2 months of inventory. Today we have 1.3 months of inventory, and we'll see what March's numbers turn out to be. This is all economic supply and demand, and I do not see anything happening with prices. Now, we also compound this with interest rates. How much effect will this have? At this point, we haven't seen any effect. People are still coming to the table,
I am amazed at, on street corners, we not only find signs for people to work in a fast food restaurant, but also signs, I want your listing. Mm-hmm. And it's a sign on a corner, and you're like, do the public understand? Well, I think they do, because they're being sought after right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't matter what the market's doing, and when it comes to the interest rates and that sort of thing. I mean, back in the day when we had the 10% interest rates, 18% interest rates, those sorts of things, people were still needing to buy, people still needed to sell. I think what we've had is quite a long time of calm. I mean, I'll say close to 10 years of calm, where the interest rates have been slowly lowering. The market has been pretty favorable, and prices were pretty reasonable. And then all of a sudden, we've got just a little bit of a wake-up call over the last, couple of years, where all of a sudden, interest rates were still low, but all of a sudden we had this increase in demand. And so now all of a sudden we saw we're saying that on average, we're somewhere around 15 to 20% appreciation, which is triple, 2 or 3 to 4 times what a normal appreciation rate is. And then the other part is I don't see, because of the demand and the number of buyers, I don't see the prices dropping. We might even see the prices increasing on some of these different price points.
One thing that you did point out in the notes that I read this morning, South Dakota rated one of the top states people are moving to, opportunities for employment, retirement, access to amenities like our hospitals, and a change of pace.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we can't state enough how, we've had this, even through COVID, we've had fairly open, society in reference to, yes, we all took precautions and did things that were asked, but we kind of tried to maintain an open society, and we just didn't have some of the chaos that they had in some of those other areas. And I'm not here to judge whatever that was right or wrong, but we've seen enough people where they're like, I really want to just have something that's normal, so the change of pace is coming to some sort of normalcy, normal society, I guess. The other aspect of this is that, boy, Sioux Falls in general, or South Dakota, there's just been a lot of economic opportunity, and people are recognizing that, and they're moving this way.
You and I both have spent a lot of time in real estate. One of the things that I saw was that people didn't try to sell their homes in the wintertime. They waited until things were a little warmer, kids are out of school. That barometer has changed.
Yeah, it's a whole different marketplace right now. It doesn't matter what time of year it is, but again, we're back to that whole supply and demand. So, if you put I'm being facetious here, but I'm saying, like, if you had put a house on the market 2 days before Christmas, you might have had it under contract, before Christmas Day, because that's just how the market has been. So, which is, if you'd have said that 10 years ago, you're like, wow, why would you put a house on the market just before Christmas, So, anyway, that being said, it is different. I think also technology has had a big impact on how people see and view. So they have access to the marketplace. So they're getting updates by minute. It's so they're in tune to what's happening.
The other thing, too, is the number of people that say, well, gee, I'll just sell my house on my own. I'll go look for a house on my own. But with all the people that are out there, how different the climate is today from 8 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever the case is, it's a different ballgame.
Yeah, I think, there are always going to be a few people that are going to do that, and, more power to them. So I'm not here to tell them that they shouldn't do it. I just think that having an agent, giving you maximum exposure to the marketplace, I think that you would be remiss in the fact that you might be missing out on something there. In reference to, sometimes people are like, well, I don't know if I want to pay a brokerage fee. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to. You can sell it yourself. but what we as agents may get for you when in return would far outpace anything that you would, save by not selling it yourself or by selling it yourself. So I would say to at least have a conversation with someone and see where you're at, because I know that we've been able to, not only us, but just many of the agents in our association have been able to get people some pretty startling results in reference to the end number. And actually, another stat was in reference to 72% of the people believe that it's a good time to sell their home right now. The only thing with those 72% is they just have to have a plan B, and that's where
they're going.
Well, and I think that we've talked about this too. Is that this is a matter of start the dialogue. Just because you say, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling," doesn't mean we're doing it tomorrow. It may mean, "Hey, it might be a month, maybe 6 months from now." And so I think that's the other part. Is if you're even thinking about it, engage in that conversation, because you don't know where it might go, and if we kind of know what you're looking for, what you want, we're going to find it. And the other thing, too, that the last point I was going to make in reference to our market or MLS is there's a lot of activity that's happening outside our multiple listing service, meaning there's a lot of developers that are developing land, and so you got consumers that are buying lots. We don't see that on our MLS because it's not, and then they might be buying a home directly from a custom builder, and so that's some of that. So we have a lot of activity, more so than what we're seeing on paper here.
Coldwell Banker, what's that?
Coldwell Banker, they are been recognized as one of the most recognized brands in the United States. They've been around since 1915, and so we basically brought the franchise to town here a couple months ago, and we're looking forward. We've been pleasantly surprised with all their technology. We've been very happy with their support, and it's been a fun couple months, and we're looking forward to moving forward with all this. So we're going to have some of the corporate entities will be coming to town in May. We'll have just kind of a nice little open house, and so we'll be planning on doing something like that. But yeah, plus we're closer to you, Bill, because our office is only about 6 blocks away. So
I could almost walk if I would walk.
Yes, you could. That's right. So,
and you'll join us next week for the report card.
Look forward to that. Yep.